hard to get a job back out on the block.
Charge that to the game.
Young girl, she grew up in a rush. Ain't got no doubt she don't know who to trust. Every man she ever loved only one crush.
But it's all gravy, baby. Shots get the car shut down the party. Slow smoke out of Dutchess. We got love for y'all, but y'all don't love us. Don't hate on us, we're fabulous. Hate on us, we're fabulous. You know, coming from that other side, they're going to say, we everything but great. They're going to call us robbers. They're going to call us killers. They say we steal. They say we lazy. They say if we get in high position, we had to kiss about the hind parts to get there. We don't know nothing. But we're going to go chat with Matt real fabulous. That's right. You know what I'm saying? We ain't on this podcast. We're here to give flowers. Ain't no negative feedback coming from none of that here. You know, we have a guest tonight. You know, black man in the community. You know, representing what is it, Ward 1? Ward 1 came out here to represent Ward 1 tonight in Rocky Mount. You know, which is the Edgecombe side of town. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. If you can, sir, please tell the people who you are on Go Chat with Matt.
All right. First of all, thank you for allowing me to share this moment of time with you. And it's just an honor to be here. Andre Knight from Rocky Mount, South Rocky Mount. And I just learned you from South Rocky Mount, but you're not from the real part of South Rocky Mount.
I'm not from that part.
But we're going to accept you anyway.
Yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
yeah, so really we grew up in the same area.
Right.
We probably know some of the same people.
Okay.
We've seen some of the same things in our communities on the street.
Right.
So I'm no different than just a few years older than you.
Okay.
But we know the struggles of our people.
Right.
And of our community.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, born and raised in South Rocky Mount, which is dear to my heart. But I represent Ward 1, which is the Edgecombe side of Rocky Mount, which is Hillsdale, Meadowbrook, part of the neighborhood, which is Crosstown, part of Edgemont. And, you know, I've been on this council probably about going on 18 years.
Oof.
And how I got on the council, some people say by default, because when I moved back from North Carolina Central University, you know, I graduated from Rocky Mount Senior High, class of '87. I went to, that's right,
You said a few years older than me.
Just a few years.
Yeah, you ain't gonna lie there, Mr. Mike.
Okay.
A few, probably about 3, 4.
3, 4, maybe about 5.
You on status.
That's right.
You Uncle Mike, Uncle Andre status, right?
That's right. You're my nephew. I'm Uncle Andre tonight.
That's all right.
But went to North Carolina Central, class of '87. Went to North Carolina Central. Graduated with a BA degree in political science. And, you know, my father, you know, I was looking for a job. So he was like, son, I know somebody that can help you get a job at Edgecombe Community College.
Okay.
And so I accepted it, so I moved back.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had a heart for helping our people.
Right.
I grew up at St. Paul Church of God in Christ. You know, we started out on Middle Street on the hill, and we ended up on Raleigh Street right across from Pineview Cemetery. So it was dear to my heart, you know, working with the elderly. So I wanted to come back to Rocky Mount and do exactly what you're doing to help our community. And so when I came back, I worked for Edgecombe Community College, and I also was working for Nash Edgecombe Mental Health Center with the Willie M. Population at Upstream Group Home, and also worked part-time at Glaxo.
Okay.
You know, I would work third shift, get off at 8 o'clock, go to Edgecombe Community College from 9 to 1,
right,
and then I would take a nap, and then I would get up and drive to Zebulon and do a security job at Glaxo
Okay.
Pharmacy. And so I've done that for a while, and then I bought my first home. And I always said, you know, if God blessed me, I wanted to give it back to the community.
Absolutely.
And so I always had a heart for helping older people. And so I turned my home into a family care home. So I opened up my first business December of 1996.
Okay.
And start to, you know, advertise. And so I started the group home for the elderly. And so I've been doing it ever since.
Right.
And then my second home is in South Rocky Mount, where I grew up.
Okay.
I opened the second home probably in 2013. And so I've been doing that. And most of my time is, if it's not in the group home, it's out in the street or in the street with my community and advocating for the rights of our people.
Right.
We know the struggle. You said if there's no struggle, there's no progress.
Absolutely.
And so we didn't get to where we are today because we just woke up and people said, well, we're going to give you 4 seats on the city council, or we're going to allow you to live in Candlewood, or allow you to live in Meadowbrook. All of this come through a struggle of our people. And I stand on their shoulders, and you stand on their shoulders as well. Their blood and their tears that they, you know, that they shed, that we be able to have the opportunity that we have today.
Absolutely.
And so that's why whenever I serve, I don't take it lightly.
Right.
And I try to do my best.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, God said, just do your best. You know, I'm not perfect, but I try to do my best, and I try to represent the best that I know how, and try to listen to the people and hear what the people are saying. Because if you hear what the people are saying, then there's no way you can mess up.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I came back home and I just started working. And in '96, I decided to expand my business to buy to adult daycare, similar to the Wright Center, and bought a historic home on Falls Road.
Okay.
Not knowing the history, what my father always told me. He said, there's 2 things you don't do. Let's play in the Tar River and don't be caught walking down Falls Road. Because during that time it was segregation, and that was a rough area of time.
Yeah.
And so bought this historic home on Falls Road. And that's when all hell broke loose.
Right.
Because how can a young man, 26 years old, could afford or able to get a loan to buy a $250,000 house?
Right.
But I didn't buy it to live in. I bought it to help older people that had dementia, or older people that needed a safe environment while their children or their caretakers were at work. They would have a safe environment. And so when I first saw this house, it was beautiful, like a mini mansion. It had beautiful gardens, brick wall. And I said that would be perfect for seniors.
Right.
To have senior programming. And man, once
The
you know
pushback,
it became
the
public,
pushback from them folks.
the pushback from the neighbors and the pushback from the city of Rocky Mount.
Yeah.
You know, somebody said you can't beat City Hall. Well, I'll come by to tell you, you can beat City Hall if you're united. And
Absolutely.
so I got involved with the NAACP under Reverend Lee and some older people that are no longer with us. Lewis Turner, Camillus Dancy was the youngest one member there. And so we began to protest. And I remember right before the flood, the year of '99, we had a mock funeral of burying Willie Lynch. So we got a permit. We met at City Hall, Ernest Taylor, myself, Lewis Turner, Ray Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam, Black Workers for Justice. And we had like a wagon, and then we had like a pine box that we had sprayed. It was painted black, and that was Willie Lynch. And so what we did, we put that cast it on that wagon, and we pulled that, walked down the middle of Church Street, all the way to East Grand, made a right. Well, we made a right on East Grand. We went to Smith Tapper Park, and that's when Curtis Gatewood, he was a member of the Durham NAACP. He was one of our guest speakers, and we came and we rallied and we protested. And 2 or 3 days later, we hit the flood of the century that was floored. And so I've been advocating and protesting, you know, like John Lewis said, good trouble.
Right.
You know, some people see it as, you know, if a black man speak out or if you speak direct, you're militant or
Right.
you're a troublemaker. There's no, you're saying that you speak your mind and you want the respect that you give the person that you're speaking to.
Right.
And so, you
And
know, that
Pete,
happened. And that's what I've been doing, just a servant for the
right.
people.
Because my thing is, they willing to accept any opinion, depending on how you come at them. Now,
Right.
us, if we come at them on fighting for justice and fighting
Hmm.
for rights, they want you to come on your knees.
Right.
Meaning, can you please stop
Hmm.
doing this injustice?
Right.
Please. You know what I mean? They expect that they want us to take the lashes, they want us to take the beatings. They want us to do everything but stand upright.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like strong men. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, I appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Standing for the community. I want to start back. We'll take it back in time.
Okay.
Tell us what it was like growing up in the Knight household. What was mama and daddy Knight name, any siblings, and
Okay.
how was it growing up?
I'm the youngest, three sisters, and my oldest brother. And so I lived in South Rocky Mount. You know,
Mhm.
it takes a village to raise a
Absolutely.
child. And we had a village.
Right.
You know, my mother worked second shift. Sometimes my father would work swing shift at
Mhm.
Philip Fibers. And my sister and them were the caregiver, the caretaker when
Mhm.
my mother and father was at work. And when my mother and father laid the law down, don't you leave this house. Don't you leave from this yard. You know, that's exactly what they meant.
Right.
And if they caught us, even if we were just halfway down the street, we got our butt tore up.
Right.
And so I think that even the neighbors, if they saw us doing something, you know, like Mr. Henry Smith, call him Scrap, and then we had Miss Ruby Peoples, Miss Rosa Small. We grew up seeing older people uh, uh, being entrepreneurs, being homeowners, being counselors. I mean, some of them didn't have a degree or even, you know, a fourth, third grade education, but they could see you walking down the street. They said if I hit my pants down and Miss Rosa Small saw me there, she would call me, hey boy, hey, you need to pull them pants up or stop that cussing, pick that paper up.
Right.
And out of respect of who she was, or who she, you know, during that time, I would respect her because I knew she wasn't playing. And if I didn't do it, then my mother and my father would have got the message before they got home,
Mhm.
and I would have got my butt tore up again. And so it's a sense of a family, and I think that's what we are missing, you know, today. But it was a community. South Rocky Mount has always been labeled, you know, the bad section of town. You know, when you go down to the bottom where Home Street, Union Street, you know, people are like, oh, don't go down there. But those people that lived there, that helped raise all of South Rocky Mount, those were people that worked on the railroad. You know, they come from South Carolina. During that time, their parents worked on the railroad. They lived, you know, when you go up under the tunnel, when you pass Key Food going to Berkshire, as soon as you go on the tunnel, you make a right. And that's where those families, they lived in box cars. They put 2 and 3 cars together and they lived there. And then once they left those box cars, then they settled on Home Street, Center Street, Smith Street. And so those people were hard working people. They had a good work ethics, family values. You know, I didn't say, you know, that everything was perfect there,
Mhm.
but it was a structure
Right.
that we could see
Right.
and that we can respect.
Right.
And that was not just in South Rocky Mount, but you had it in Little Raleigh, Crosstown,
Right.
Planters Oil Mill section,
Absolutely.
around the Y.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's where we really get our sense of love and nurturing from our people because we see it.
Right.
But now, if you don't see it, how are you going to emulate it?
Absolutely.
If you only just see hate, you know, because let's say we're on the playground or we're at school, we get in some beef, we tussle and we fight. If you beat my butt, hey, you won. The next day, yo, man, what's up? You know, I might watch how I talk to you, but I'm not going to pull a gun out and shoot you.
Yeah.
So that means you got to man up and you got to know how to fight.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so today I don't think, you know, we're missing something.
What we
You know, the
missing?
violence. You
What
know.
we missing? You know, I do believe in accountability.
Mhm.
You know, it takes a village to raise, you know, the children, whatever.
Right.
But I also understand that, you know, oppression,
Hmm.
systematic oppression is
Hmm.
real.
Right.
Like, you know, that environment you speak of
Hmm.
back in the day, like you said, that wasn't just South Rocky Mount.
Hmm.
Uh, let my parents tell it, the projects was very pretty.
Hmm.
Like growing up. Like, you know, there won't no such thing as, you know, you ride through the projects and, you know, yours was nice. Black folks took pride in what we own because we didn't have much.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So we took pride and we took that pride and still pride in what we own. Like you said, these corner stores, we used to own
Right.
all these little black businesses that was
Right.
around in the area.
Hmm.
You know, the dramatic effect that hit all communities, not just in Rocky Mount, but all abroad,
Hmm.
which we had no control over, was the crack cocaine.
Hmm.
Once that hit the streets and all the areas of our communities, it took us down dramatically. I'm talking about fast. Stuff that it took our families 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years to fight for and build for, took us down in the amount of time, a year or two. You know
Right.
what I mean? And where does this come from?
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Well,
you know, and like I said,
so
like,
the question, where did it come from?
we already know where it came from.
Okay, let's,
You know what I
let's
mean?
call it
So,
like
you
we
know, like I
see it,
said,
you
we
know.
ain't, so, you know,
Yeah.
along with that now comes with the separation of the household, the black household.
Right.
Then also comes
Well,
the
you,
prison.
yeah.
Also, all these different
Well,
factors that taking place to tear us down as a people that we got to fight. Now we got to fight these
but
addictions and
yeah,
all these behaviors. And
but those same what we're talking about, separation, separating the family, the oppression dates back 400 years.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
yeah,
because you
exactly,
took
exactly,
the child from its mother
exactly,
and sold the child.
exactly,
You separated the mother and
exactly,
father from the child.
exactly.
You made the man to be reproduction
Right. So
bust.
we
You know,
always
so
been on an uphill battle in this country.
right,
It ain't never been a smooth ride. That's why,
right.
like I said, when I bring y'all guys up
Mhm.
here, it ain't to, you know, to go against one
Right,
another. It's all about, you know, because you had to fight to get to where you're at.
right.
So what, like, you know, when we go to the fighting crime page, or when this other time it's time for election,
Mhm.
all this dirt they're throwing at you,
Right.
we here tonight to clean that up.
Well, you got to have tough skin to
Got
be
to, yeah, right,
a politician,
absolutely,
whether it's in a small city or a large city. But if, you know, when I first ran, you know, my slogan was unbossed and unbought.
right,
The second one, night for a better day.
yeah,
And so if you go there with a purpose, my purpose, when you go back and check my campaign, see, because I'm running on a record, almost 18 years. And in 2003, that was historic for the city of Rocky Mount because we never had a majority black council.
right,
We always had, the first, well, it wasn't the first, because we had 3 or 4 town councilmen back in the late 1800s and the 1900s at the turn of the century. But then when Jim Crow came, and after Reconstruction, blacks would run out of the politics, out of the political arena. And that's when you had 1898 in Wilmington, and you had all these coups across this country that murdered and disenfranchised black people, and we ran for safe haven. You know, look at Wilmington, look at Tulsa, Black Wall Street, look at Hayti, and so it's always been a struggle. So then, when Reverend Dudley became the first black council member, because back then it was town council members. That was in the early 70s. And then you had Helen Gay, the first African American. Then you had Leonard Wiggins. And so you never had a majority. So right now our budget is 200 and let's say $30 million. So you got this $230 million, but you can't really decide on where it's going to be spent because you don't have the votes to allocate it. You know, just for instance, we look based upon needs. Let's say 30 years ago, you got Reverend Dudley. He's the only African American. Then you have Helen Gay. or Leonard Wiggins. So let's say you got 2 out of 7. So the majority decides on how funds going to be allocated and where you're going to where your priority is going to be. And so we saw that, and along with Naomi Green and other grassroots people, along with Sue Perry Cole, sued the city of Rocky Mount so we can have ward system. And then after we sued the city of Rocky Mount, it still took a while before we can get majority. And then that's when all this transparency come. Where was all this transparency before African American majority council? And so we were in solidarity, and we wanted to see diversity in City Hall, because when I got on the council, you only had 2 black department heads. There was Charles Penny, assistant city manager. He moved from the director of planning to assistant city manager. And then you had Loretta Braswell in human relations, that she took Sam Gray's place when he retired. And the rest was just Lily White.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying because of Lily White everybody was wrong, but you didn't see the makeup of the population of the city of Rocky Mount, which is now about 63% African American. You didn't see that. You only saw that at the when you come to the sanitation and the street department. You saw that representation. But as far as upper management, when you walked inside City Hall, you didn't. I mean, man, it was like it was a culture shock.
So they put us in place to take out the trash.
Well, we had to get wherever we could to, to get a job. And then that's when the sanitation strike came.
Right.
We just celebrated. Alexander Evans, when they accused him of stealing a suit in I think it was in the West Haven area, one of these communities, where somebody had put some clothes on top of the trash can, and it was customary, if it was on the trash can or beside the trash can, you could take, whatever it is and take it home. People say, well, one man's junk is somebody's treasure.
Right.
And so that's when he was accused, and that's when we had the boycott of the sanitation workers. And we just honored him and his wife and his sanitation work. And then we went back and did reparation for those who were falsely fired or missed work due to the protests. And then we went back at this council and gave them monetaries for the time that they had missed during that strike. But what I'm saying now, when you look at City Hall, we got, we had the first African American police chief. We just got the first African American fire chief after 125 years. We have a first black African American city manager, female city manager. HR department is African American. When you look at human relations, part of the water sewer. So when you go in there, you see people looking like you.
Right.
We always had this myth. They taught us, Africa was just people walk around in the jungle, and if you never really read or expanded your travels outside these United States, you always think that Africa was something like Tarzan, and we just running around naked with a spear.
When everything in civilization started from Africa.
Right. And so, you're if you don't read and expand your intellect,
right,
then you would be stuck in what the stereotype is. And so now when you look at Rocky Mount, you look at where the money is being allocated in South Rocky Mount, Little Raleigh, Crosstown, in housing. Right now we got different grants for housing. Now people talking about, why are you putting all this money in downtown? Well, downtown is our living room. Have you ever go visit a city? New York, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Las Vegas, wherever you go.
I don't care where
you got a downtown.
Downtown or uptown.
So what's all the fuss about a hotel and a parking deck in downtown? I mean, what's the beef about people going downtown and restoring the buildings that was left to rot, that was owned by a majority, white people, the white flight, And so these buildings, you don't have a roof, no plumbing, no floors, the wires, knob and tube wiring. And so you got young people like you guys that say, hey, I got a vision, a purpose. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to open up me a rib shack or a restaurant. Or it could be a rib shack, that's fine. Or you can have a prime rib restaurant. You can have a Jamaican restaurant.
Yeah.
You can have a beauty shop, a barber shop. You can have anything. Or I
Real
want to have an
estate,
upscale lounge.
real estate business.
But you own it.
Barbershops, you can have,
Right.
yeah, right.
But there's no city in North Carolina that has over 40 black businesses downtown. You go to Durham, you can't find that. Now Durham had Hayti. Now Hayti was a hustling, bustling. Now, I went to school at North Carolina Central. You had North Carolina Mutual. You had the Spaldings. You had Dr. Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
You had all those prominent people, you know, around the North Carolina Mutual area. And then they ran 40 straight down Hayti and destroyed the community. You look at Tulsa. You look at that city was bustling, hustling, bustling more so than New York. And what they do, burn the whole city. Wilmington, people were doing well. You know, burn the churches up. So what I'm saying, you're looking at young people, middle-aged people, and then the older people that stayed, working together, being prosperous together, fellowshipping together, and it's a good vibe. And you know, all the talk of the town, which is good now, because I've been down to the mill. I don't have no problem with that. But why you can't hate the same vibe a few blocks down the street in Rocky Mountain?
They want us to sing, we shall overcome, but they don't want us to overcome.
Right. But we have overcome because what we're doing is showing that, you know, look at you, man, hey, you got it going on. Y'all got it going on. Look at the technology, you know, the studio.
Yeah, I've got the different though, Mr.
No,
Mike.
we just had a play at the Dunn Center of Suge Battle.
Right.
And how, you know, went against the odds and how he was able to turn himself around.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got those kind of stories and testimonies. See, you know, what people, the other folks want us to think that Rocky Mount's so bad. They want us to refer to Rocky Mount as Murder Mount. They want us to refer to Rocky Mount as poor. But other people are coming here, buying houses in Little Raleigh, South Rocky Mount, Hillsdale, Happy Hill, houses that we think that's not no good or raggedy, but they're coming in because they got good bones. And if you can restore Rocky Mount Mill, those houses that was built in the 1800s, you mean tell me you can't restore the houses right beside you?
Absolutely.
When you know that old Miss Lily Mae passed, you know her cousin lived in Baltimore and she might got 3 cousins, say, hey, this house is sitting. Why don't you sell it to me for a few $1,000s and you go in HGTV and renovate it? Then you control who's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can give somebody else uplifted hand and say, hey, I know you don't have that credit score like yours, 800, you know, 800 or 700, and you can't go buy a house way out here in Vaughn Farm off in Red Oak. You know, hey, he got a pad. Y'all looking at the goat chat here, but when I drove up, I said, hey.
It's all about auntie name.
Yeah, but you can say, I can give you a hand up, not a handout, until you get on your feet and save you some money. That's how you can do. But if you don't, and you always talk about how bad things are, how bad your neighborhood is, oh, nobody don't want to live here, but then you got other people coming here with a vision. Oh man, come on. It is a myth. It is a illusion, and it's blowing smoke because they don't want you to see the reality.
I got to shout out on that. I got to shout out Troy Davis for what he's doing. Like, you know, he's trying his best to restore communities that, like, especially like that Meadowbrook area. Because when I was growing up, Meadowbrook was like Counterwood to me.
Oh yeah, Meadowbrook. I used to ride my bike from South
you know
Rocky Mountain to Meadowbrook.
Meadowbrook was like Counterwood to me. So you know, like for the, you know, to see what people, we'll see what people think it is now. That's not it. You know, like I said, I hate for, like you said, people call us Murder Mount. It's because we used to be a fun city.
Right.
And, you know, we used to be a city to where it is, like you said, we'll fight but the next day we gonna laugh about it. You know what I mean? Because young boy, what was in the club? Like, you should have been messing with that boy girl. I told you he was gonna get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, like, you know what I'm saying?
But it's the image that we put out.
Right.
You
It's
know,
the image that we put out that we got to take accountability for ourselves.
Right.
I want to ask you this: Did your parents or any? Because you said you went to Central. One thing about I learned about everybody that went to North Carolina Central University, for one, y'all will always be number 2 to the Aggies. That's for what?
Eagle Pride.
But 2, everybody that went there and was a success from there always had a nurturer. So did you have anybody like, you know, was it always political science, or did you have, you know, other things you wanted to do, but you had influence to say, nah, Mr. Knight, I see this in you. Won't you go get a political science degree?
Well, you know, when I was my senior year, I really didn't even know what I wanted to do, you know, because the only thing I just wanted to do was to graduate. You know, my parents, you know, come from a Christian family, you know, always Christian value, work hard, stay out of trouble, and you can be somebody. My parents are not any graduate of any college or HBCU, but they were hard-working, nurturing parents. And my sister, she was inspired to go to North Carolina Central. My April Johnson sister, Tisha Johnson. And so I think her 11th grade year or 12th grade year, you know, she had to go over to educational talent church, you know, maybe to take the SAT or the ACT in order just to get at North Carolina Central. So it was really no career path that we had or that I knew in the 9th grade that I was preparing myself to go to college. I was working and, you know, I was a student, part of DECA, which they would help you get a job, and I worked at Adam Wholesale. But I never took that career path of going to a higher learning institution. And so when my sister got all her things together and was accepted at North Carolina Central, that inspired me because she was like, hey, bro, I want you to come to North Carolina Central. Because I was, in my mind, I was going to the military.
Right.
You know, so I went to North Carolina Central for early orientation. And man, when I went there, I was like, black people live like this? Because I saw so many young people like from New York, Delaware, New Jersey.
Right.
I mean, some on had cars, they had mud. I mean, it was just a different world. You remember that show, A Different World?
Right.
You know, and the college life, and I was like, wow.
Absolutely.
You know, because I was just in Rocky Mount because we didn't take any family trips and stuff like that because my parents always worked. But I had never seen anything outside of Rocky Mount. And when I went there for orientation, man, I was ready to come back. I'm like, bump this. I'm not putting in no tobacco. I ain't picking no cucumbers. I may cut some grass because I need some money when I get on campus. But it just put me in a different mode that, wow, man, you know, I see all these young people from different areas, different backgrounds. And it was just a wonderful experience.
The girls, oh my God.
Oh, it was like
3, 4 to 1. Yeah, crazy.
You know, ratio crazy. Had one, you know, Chitley Hall, and then you had 7 dormitories of female dorms.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just saw this, and then, you know, the block parties, you know, everybody having fun.
Right.
You know, then I saw, the first time I saw the band, you know, because Rocky Mount, we won all these awards, but we were dun, dun,
yeah. What they were doing at Central. Doing that.
But they got down a little bit more than that. But my mother was a majorette, and she always told me, and we always heard about Professor Woods over at Booker T. Washington High School, and how they had the marching band, and said that the Rocky Mount High used to watch the Booker T. Washington marching band after the parade, because they would be getting down. You know, but then when that the integration came, you know, all that culture and all that gyrated, all that ceased. And then we just went to the
Yeah.
But I'm not saying anything wrong with that. But you didn't see that what my mother and my father and those grew up with,
Right.
and that rhythm and that,
Right.
you know,
Right.
you know,
Right.
you know. So that really redirected my thinking. I'm like, oh well, dog, that's what my, that's what school was like. That's what the culture was like. It gave you a sense uh, being that I can be somebody, or I shouldn't be afraid of how I walk, how I talk, because you see other people doing the same thing and they're successful, and I was like, man, it just opened my eyes. And so education is the key. Uh, I say to anything to open up the world, your mind, and that's what we got to continue to tell our young people. I
Absolutely.
know, we know, you know, we've been fighting over 400 years for civil rights, human rights, but then we also have a culture where we're fighting too.
Right.
And what's most devastating to me, I started out in my 20s, but when you fought so hard and then somebody say something, falsely accuse you, the people who you've been fighting for, say all these nasty kind of comments, call you out of character. I said, okay, well, you're going to take 19 years of my service, but then you're going to believe a report that somebody printed. So
Hey.
if I live among you, walk among you, went to church with you, see you through your community, and if something came out like that, you say, yo, Knight, let me tell you, man, I don't have no choice but to believe you.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Who was in that casket when y'all buried Willie Lynch?
Man, I'll tell you after this show, because we still got some Willie Lynch here.
Yeah, but like,
And we still got, you look at all this, this propaganda, false propaganda, when black people vote together, that's a problem. The white people vote together, they even cross from Democrat to Republican, depending on who the candidate is. So it's a problem when you see solidarity. But then on the other hand, y'all not unified. So which one is it? So if we in this room are together and we walk into a boardroom, we together. We walk into a business room offer or a city council meeting or to the governor, and we are together. Nobody ain't shucking and jiving, your head down, embarrassed, but we together. Then that's powerful. But then on the other hand, y'all ain't together as a people. So what is it?
It's a lot of it's a lot of factors I believe play into that. For one, I believe desegregation. When we start to intertwine with one another, me personally, I'm not a racist. I'm not prejudiced. But I believe that's the worst thing that ever happened to black folks. And I wasn't even born in the segregated times. But I believe that's the worst thing that happened to black folks. Because this the thing, right? When it's just us and we combine all our ideas and we got all the capital or whatever, you know what I'm saying? We could create some great stuff without having to go through them avenues.
Look at hidden figures.
You know what I mean? But when we got when we desegregate, now all right, so all us in this room, right? And we got all these great ideas, and we got the capital in the room, but you got one person in the room that I want to run with this idea myself, so let me run to this side.
Right.
And tell them some of my ideas, and maybe they'll fund me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now I ain't got to deal with the people.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because,
you know
okay, you're going to run to the other side and get some peanuts or some crumbs when you can really control the whole pot. You got the beans and the frame.
We can't. But
so why you just want the
because some people
can't?
Because some people can't see the pot.
No, it's divide and conquer.
Right.
Just listen to this. You together in this room, but I pull you off. When you together, when you ball your fist, that's together. There's more strength than you know. Mm-hmm. And so if I can pick you off and say, hey, yo, man, come over here. I can help you get your business started. Mm-hmm. Or I can just give you a few dollars to help you along the way, because they know you're struggling. You might be struggling, you may not be struggling. And then you're like, okay, you see a avenue that you think is right, that you can get these crumbs to help you to get to where you want to be, not knowing if you stick together, then you can control the whole pot. And I'm not saying it in a way that you control it where you be manipulative, or you trying to get back at somebody, or have power in the wrong way. I'm not talking about that way, but I'm saying the power to do what's right.
Right.
The power to have affordable housing, the power to create what we just did, MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise. You know, out of $150 million from this city, out of contracts, only 0.9% went to black folk and women. Okay, just think about it. If you got a hookup or whatever, and you can get a contract getting $20 million in 3 years, what can you do with $20 million? Okay. And then you change the rule. Okay, MWBE, okay, you're a different color than me. I'm gonna get my wife to be the president. So then she becomes a minority. But you still running the company. Okay. So what we've done in the last few years was to increase the percentage of African American and women, minorities, getting contracts with the city. And I tell our people, all black folks can't do is cut grass and clean up. So we compete against ourselves. We have to broaden our horizon and look at what the contracts are and diversify ourselves. And that means, hey, you all cool, you ain't got no dirt on them shoes. It means you just jump in, get buying a dump truck where you can haul some waste off somewhere. I mean, it's still money. Right. But everybody can't compete for those same 5 little contracts.
And like you said, it all was key to this is education.
Right.
Because, like I said, ain't nothing wrong with, want to be self-sufficient.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with wanting to start your business from ground up.
Right.
But you need people in your circle, if it's not you, to go to school, to learn about business marketing.
Right.
To learn about, business period.
Yeah.
To learn about, we can't ask for change in the community, in the police force, if we're not sending our own to be police.
Right.
To be judges, to be lawyers.
Right.
We can't expect, to go to everybody always talk about, Nash Jr. one of the world's hospitals, this, that, the third. But sending your child to school to be a doctor, tell them to come back and work at Nash Jr.
Right.
You know what I mean? I hate that.
But it's our value.
Yeah.
If we would begin to set the bar and values for our children and our children's children, then we can see a difference.
Because I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Because why it was important that we went to college? Because we would have been one of the first in our families to have succeeded in that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now that you got generations are passing, we got all these beautiful black young folks graduate, even older people graduating and getting degrees now. Now the man that can make $1 million without a degree telling people, but don't go to college. You know what I mean? I did it this way, this, that, and the third. I'm pretty sure, but you ain't doing it by yourself. Somebody in your little clique or whatever you got, went to school and got something.
What's better than 1 millionaire?
2.
Okay, so if people talking about Troy Davis, okay, he's down there, and we are, this ain't no hookup or this ain't no favoritism, but this young man come down here and put his hard-earned money in these raggedy tore-up buildings, and can renovate and breathe life into these buildings. What's wrong with the city helping him accomplish what he want to do? So he get to a point where he is, hey, second millionaire. What's wrong with somebody opening up a door for young men and women, giving them the opportunity to be able to be entrepreneur, whether you went to college or not, but you got good work ethics. We have the Latinos here, I don't know if some of them, go to college, but then they got good work ethics. We have always had good work ethics, but we never got paid. 400 years, maybe that's why some of us tired.
Now when they
chopping
want
the
to pay you
field,
when you want to pay you
you know,
pennies and you don't want to work at all, they want to call it lazy.
you know,
Yeah.
and always talking about lazy. We always had full unemployment, but we never got paid for it. And
Right.
then even after slavery, you still had to share crop. And at the end of the year, you didn't go that way, you didn't go this way. And so it forced our families, like my grandmother, had to leave Rocky Mount to go to New York so she could have money to send to her mother and my mother, because things was tight.
Right.
So we got to understand why some of the things happened to us the way they did.
Right.
Some of our family members got on the train and they were living maids.
Right.
They lived upstate New York.
My grandma was a maid for
Yeah.
for Birch's Deal for about
Yeah.
60 years.
Yeah.
For Birch's Deal, the most he got out of that for probably making $8 an hour was a $2,700 car.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bought her with her car with now.
Yeah.
But
it inspired us to say, hey, I got to leave home to have a better life.
They
would send money back,
I ain't working for Birch for those 60 years for those 27.
But some of we had to do the best that we could with what we had.
Right.
And so look for you from her lineage and legacy, and look at you.
Absolutely.
So through her work ethics and her values, produce young kings.
Right. Let me ask you this, Mr. Knight, because like I said, me myself, I don't know the responsibilities and duties of a city councilman. Mm-hmm. So what I want to ask you is for because say for instance, when Barack in office, you know what I mean? You can only do it so much. As people that expect you to be able to change the world when you, like you said, you just one man.
Right.
And it's only so far that you can take what you what you got, and you know what I'm saying, and they're delegated. So what I want you to do now for Ward 1 is explain to the people what entails of the duty of a city council.
Yes, and I'm in the Ward 1, but we really represent all the city.
Right.
When we sit there and deliberate on policies and ordinance, people got to understand the process. You can't change something in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 or 25 years. Something that's already, you can't change something overnight when you got 125 years, of advancement, and not for us. You're not going to see Happy Hill, Little Riley, South Rocky Mount be transformed in 5, 10, 15 years, because you still got to take care of the city. And so, being a council person is really governing the city.
If you don't mind me interjecting right quick. Mm-hmm. Now, those once were beautiful neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Little Riley, my aunts, we got property. We got a lot right there in Little Riley, right across from the park.
Right.
And back in the day, like I said, black folks, we ain't had much. They might not have been the biggest houses, but they was beautiful communities.
But what we had,
it was beautiful.
We appreciated, and we kept it up.
So,
but our neighborhoods, to be honest, have never been able to compare to West Haven and the Edgemonths, because they had the big houses and the maids and stuff. But the little bungalows and the little shotgun houses, they took pride in those. Mm-hmm. So now when you see those communities, those houses still 75 to 100 years old. So you're not it's going to be much harder to try to sustain those communities, because they didn't have the infrastructure as some of these older white communities in Rocky Mount that had good bones for housing, wider street infrastructure, so, but I want to hit on something what you said, the pride that we had, even though, like this man, Mr. Rowland, he had a shotgun house, but he kept it painted. He kept the yard swept, no grass, but the yard was swept, it wasn't dirty. And it was just the pride. This is my little abode, but I'm going to take care of it. I'm not going to throw paper in the yard. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to appreciate it. And so those older homes, which probably were worth a few $1,000s, they looked better back then because the people worked hard and appreciated. And so that's what we got to see here. And then we're talking about this housing bond, it's going to transform Rocky Mountain because we got so many impoverished neighborhoods that have gone lacking for as city dollars and city investment, that it's going to take millions and millions of dollars to get those communities where they should be. And so, you know, when we got on city council, we had so many boarded up houses. In community code, that budget was $60,000. In one vote in 2003, we agreed that the demolition should be, we raised it from 60,000 to 240,000. It's almost $250,000.
Right.
You know, we had the old Planters Oil Mill. They told us we would never get those silos down. And you can imagine what it, you know what it used to look like riding down Cokie Road. It looked like we was in Chicago somewhere. South Rocky Mountain had Tip Top Bakery. Happy Hill had Planters Oil Mill. I mean, had Mayola Milk Company.
Yeah.
These old buildings that was built in residential community that we had to live, work, and play around, that they were now abandoned, becoming an eyesore that was causing our houses to depreciate.
Right.
And so when you go and look at, you know, it's a whole different new landscape that we created. So now once you have torn down, you got to rebuild. So we're in a rebuilding mode.
Right.
We're in a rebuilding mode. We know the Edgecombe side have always advocated. You know, at one time we had one bank, one grocery store. We know that. But when we go to these conventions and ask people about, you know, can we get a Walmart? Can we get a Food Line? Can we get a Publix? You know, they got a certain kind of, they look for certain things to locate in our neighborhood. But if we always complain about the crime rate, we always talking about the murder amount, we always talking about how bad it is, why would I want to come to our community or to our side of town? And so they talk about rooftops, traffic count. They talk about medium income level. They talk about crime. You know, people don't remember when Ruben and I and the other council members fought against the Sheets because we said, you know, crossing the 64 is the perfect place. They gave us some reason why they didn't want to come there. Bojangles. I remember going to the meeting. The people didn't want the Bojangles on Nicodemus Mile Road over there by Boyce Willis. So they were saying, you know, it's a daycare across the street. We don't want nobody looking at somebody eating chicken. You know, it's by Boyce Willis. So I told the people that if you don't want it over here, bring it on our side of town. That's probably one of the most, I think, well-run Bojangles. It's always full. So we have advocated, but until you go into these meetings, to these conventions and hear what they say, what they're saying, then that's another thing. That's another challenge for us. Right. That's another challenge.
On the scale of 1 to 10, how hard is it being a city councilman?
Well, it's not hard. The hard part come in when your own people criticize you, your own people try to destroy you. You know, we've been going through for the last couple of years, white nationalists and white supremacists coming down to city council targeting black leadership. Now, people say, well, don't y'all say that, don't say that, don't say that. Well, if you say something, then I wouldn't have to say nothing. Ruben wouldn't have to say nothing. Lamont wouldn't have to say nothing. Because if we don't say anything, it's going to be a headline. It's going to be printed. And then people say, well, we don't know what's going on. And thank God you have this venue that you can get the word out.
Yeah.
But if we don't say anything, then how would the people know? And it's very hard. You know, when you fight against you know your enemy. You know you fighting against your enemy. But then when you got to fight against your brother and sister, that's the hardest thing. You know, fighting our young brothers killing each other. I mean, you think I feel good when somebody come down there and talk about it? You don't feel good. But we know why it's happening. We can say it's due to lack of resources. But as a people, we always had lack of resources in our community, but it didn't result to killing somebody or stealing because we had values. And so to me, it's not that hard. The harder part of it is the support that you get. And when you got people that's come targeting certain members and you don't have your community to circle the wagon, or just a kind word, you know, you don't need 10,000 people. You know, don't preach to me. Nehemiah rebuilt the wall. He had a Bible in one hand and a sword in the other hand, but you can't come down and say, hey, we're going to help you rebuild. Don't tell me about Gideon that had 3,000 and God told him go by the brook and those that lap water like a dog, and he reduced the army down from 3,000 to 300. And he said, those are the ones that's going to fight. Those are the ones you want, the ones that lap water like a dog. You don't want the ones that's worrying about how they going to get dirty or how they going to mess their Jordans up. You don't need them because they ain't ready for battle. They ain't ready for the war. You got to be ready for war, bro.
Absolutely.
You got to be ready for whatever comes. And you got to always be quick to think on your feet.
Yeah.
Because when they throw something at you and it's printed, it ain't always what's in the print. You got to be able to discern that. And God give us the spirit of not of fear, but of a sound mind.
Right.
And so you got to be ready for it. You got to know. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going.
Right.
And you have to be, I believe, you always got to have your ear on the ground. You always have to be among your people and listening. And I'm from here. You from here. I don't know these young men. You know what the issues are. You grew up with it. You've seen it. You sat down and talked to your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles. You've heard the story. You heard the struggle. And so in a position, when you become elevated in a position or you get elected as a position and you don't address those issues, then what's your purpose?
Right.
Your purpose is not, my purpose is not to sit there and go along, to get along, and for somebody to say, oh, he's a nice, good black man, let's put him on this board.
Yeah.
Or let's get him, grab him, or he can come and do this and do that. No, that's not my purpose. My purpose is to be a change agent. My purpose is to be on the right side of history. My purpose is to make sure that the doors are open and that the playing field is equal for those who have not had the opportunity or even the background and the knowledge, but be able to open up the access, give them access to the funding, give you access to sit around the table, because that's how it becomes transparency, because I'm able to tell you what you haven't heard before.
Right.
And before we got on city council, you know, we didn't have people coming down there asking about, you know, all requesting public information on this and this and that. So all of a sudden now, transparency, was the transparency 100 years ago? Was the transparency 50 years ago? Was the transparency 20 years ago? Okay, where happened all that money been spent?
Right.
We didn't get it.
Then they worry about the money.
You know, you worrying about that now. Oh, okay. So, but my thing is, it's not hard unless you make it hard. It's not hard unless you're trying to figure out how you gonna try to push your idea. You know, I never try to push my idea. What I try to do is to push all of us.
Right.
Because if you win, I win.
Right.
You know, parity, prosperity, and justice for all.
Absolutely.
Then what's wrong with that?
Absolutely.
Is that being racist? Is that being abusive of power? Then what's abusive of power? When people can't take directives from you because they're not used to you being in a position of authority to give them directed to do what you ask them to do. Then it's a problem. You know, but look at the oppression that we worked under. You know, when we
Work,
was
work on the work.
the street department, sanitation department, they were buying trucks, but they would take the air conditioning out the trucks. You know why? Because they said they ain't want them black boys, black men sitting in the truck with the air conditioning on. Now you gonna buy a truck. What you gonna take? I said, did you take it out for water resource? Did you take it out of the city manager's car? Did you take it out of the planning director's car? Did you take it out of anybody else's car? So why could they enjoy the AC, but you couldn't enjoy it? They were taking the AC out of the new trucks.
Sound
Tell
like
me what you think.
Sound like damn slavery to me.
No, it sound like you better get your butt out there and dig that ditch. You better be calling that cab
Yes.
with no air.
Yeah.
You know, so
sound like damn
you
slavery
know,
to me.
so those are the kind of thing, you know, or listening to those who not afford the opportunity to be able to move up in the organization. You know, dealing with the sanitation worker, dealing with the street department who have been overlooked or underpaid. You know, to make everybody feel that they are valued in this organization, because everybody should be valued,
Right.
not just because your job title and you work at City Hall.
Right.
Even if you own Albemarle Avenue, you should be a valued employee, and we should give you access to what we give everybody else.
As you did, like for the citizens of Rocky Mount, Ward 1 and Rocky Mount, for the things that they expect and what they ask for, tell them how we can help to, you know, because it takes more than just going to meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How can we help our councilmen accomplish everything that we need, that we want to see in our community?
I would say get involved. You know, it's three of you guys here. We have board and commission. Get involved in your community. I'm not saying you got to come to every rally or come to every council meeting, but just to figure out how we can make this a better place for us to live, work, and play. You know, people's like, I'm moving to Rocky Mount, ain't nothing to do. The city council ain't doing nothing for the children. Man, when I was growing up, my parents said, go outside. You might be able to swing. You know, we had to create things to keep us out of trouble or to keep us active. You know, if you see things that's a good idea, you know, we need this in this ward. You know, how can we, you know, come around the table, attend the community meetings and say, you know, just Hillsdale, we just, it was Antoinette Cutler, Reverend Cutler, Sharon Evans, Kathy, and Carolyn, 4 women, meeting with the Parks and Rec director and staff saying, this is how we want to see Lancaster Park. But before we got to putting the new equipment in the park, which we just did the ribbon cutting, I talked to Jaretta Ruffin and Cynthia Ruffin. They said, well, you know how we got the park in Hillsdale? It was the young people like you and these 2 guys coming to the city and say, hey, we want a part that we can come and play, because they didn't have that. And, you know, the whole civil rights movement was infused by young people, you know. And so, you know, they always talk about it's a generation gap. But you got to understand, and I understand things have changed. But, you know, he called old man for wisdom and young man for strength. And I'm not going to always be in this position. But if you don't know nothing, when you get in the position, you ain't going to know how to maneuver around the pitfalls. You're not going to be able to maneuver behind the bullets and the knives that are going to be thrown at you, because they are. You're not going to be able to maneuver and cross the ditch that was digged for you, but then you cross it, but they fall in it.
Right.
Because my mother always said, if you dig one ditch, you better dig 2.
Absolutely.
But if you ain't listening, if you don't never listen to your parents, listen to your grandparents, and listen to, and know the history of the people, then when you get in a position, man, it's so much you're not going to understand, because you don't have that knowledge. It's just like me. I can't go play for the NBA. if I don't know how to do a layup,
Right.
or I can't play for the NFL if I don't know how to
rather
do
football.
defense or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So you have to be. I'm not saying you know tutored and taught and just listening. I mean, just listening to people. You know, you got fraternities of the older men and the Masons and the Qs and the Kappas, and you know they teaching young brothers. People in the church teaching young members. You know, but my thing is when you get in a position, you know, some of the majority always want to make you feel like if you stick together for what's right, then you're wrong.
Mhm.
You know, reach across the aisle. I understand that. You're going too fast, or you know. But then you look at how they play ball, or how they do politics. You know, you got the power to do what you can do while you got it.
Mhm.
Now, let's say for instance, if you all in control, and when you say in control, that don't mean that it's bad. You know, if you the majority, you in control.
Right. Listen,
It don't
you
mean that
can't.
you're gonna take
Right.
it and
Because you can't.
and oppress
Because
somebody.
you can't do nothing. Nothing can be successful without organization and control.
Right.
If if I let, it's all good for everybody to.
But
Yeah,
it's a
go ahead.
divide.
Mhm.
Okay, say for instance y'all together, and I'm like, daggone, they moving stuff. Oh, I see a change. Somebody slip in your same camp now. That might look just like you. Them two got too much power. But the power ain't in the two. The power's in the three. So then they'll pick you against y'all two against him, saying, "Oh, well, he ain't right," you know. So then y'all be like looking at him sideways. So so now you ain't really talking to him, because you talking to the other side. They got another agenda. Now, I'm gonna tell you this: as long as I've been on that council, I'd rather hash out my difference, and when I come out there in public, I'm together. To agree to disagree. That's the way how I want to operate. You know, because you know you want to show unity and solidarity, and then you got some people. The wings need to be clipped. They got, you know, these folks got too much power. They ain't doing nothing. Okay, if you go back and Google everything that has happened, look at these articles, you can see the progress. But those that want to sow discord and wants to you know, and sow malice, it's all planned. Because if you can get somebody, and sometimes it can be your own family member, you know, or somebody paying somebody to come in and break up the three. But the three got to be strong in the both mind, body, and spirit. Even if y'all disagree, I'm not gonna let you know. I mean, this is go chat. If y'all disagree, you're not gonna tell the people out here on the, you know, oh, we ain't together. You know. But you know, the important thing is to uh, have a vision, have an agenda, and do what's right for the people in all of Rocky Mount. And since we've been in the majority, we never slighted Nash County. Anytime Carolina Gateway come asking for $1 million for industry, we have voted for it. I remember in 2014, I was mayor pro tem when we settled this huge utility debt. I'm not afraid to talk about utility because this myth blowing out here. And you know, I ain't afraid. That's why I can say, hey, if I was afraid and I done something wrong, I'd be hiding and had my mouth shut.
Hold the rope.
But you know, if it's a lie, it's a lie. If it ain't true,
Yeah.
you know. So I was the mayor pro tem during that time, and I remember going to Wilson to the North Carolina Eastern Municipal Power Agency in Wilson. It's this huge room. It is about 60 people sitting around this long table. And here Andre Knight come. And, you know, the former mayor, Fred Turner, told Andre Knight, Reuben Blackwell, Angela Bryant, and Lamont that y'all can't understand this utility debt because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
They just kept saying that. We was like, what's complicated? You can't understand. I remember walking in that room. I was the only dot in that room. I was the only black. And then Mayor Mills from Scotland Neck. Just so happened the Lord put us together. He was sitting right beside me. We would go down there and fight and say, I know you want to be physically sound. I know you got to do, you looking at the finance, but we got people that are under this heavy burden of utilities in Rocky Mount in the eastern North Carolina that's paying $8, $9, $10,000. Something is wrong with that. What was an investigation then? I remember Miss Nellie Thornton at City Hall, right outside the police station. We down on our knees praying, along with Dorothy Cook, saying we need some relief. And what we did as a council with Angela Bryant, it said as long as you paying something on your utility bill, they were so high, man, people couldn't pay it.
Oh no, you ain't got to worry about the Lord. Though,
we would keep them on.
Lou light bill used to be so high.
Right.
I go around because the heat on air condition. I'm talking about summertime. We can't even turn the air conditioner on. Still get $5,000 light bill. I was like, brother, what the hell you doing around here?
No, about 500. But see, you have to look at the heavy debt that we was under, because when we bought into this electricity, we was a textile community. And see, when the textile industry left, it left the burden on the people.
Right.
And so we was, footing the burden of that. And the debt supposed to be paid off in 2026.
Right.
And so what we did, was Rocky Mount and Kessler, we threatened to sue Duke. But now our bills are at least 20 to 40% lower than what it was. It's manageable. But then if you're still getting a high utility bill, you still have to look at the housing stock.
Mm-hmm.
I probably don't have those nice appliances like you got, those digital things and all that kind of stuff. I still got a chair propped up in my refrigerator because the door don't close at the bottom. I still may have an antiquated heating system. All that stuff controls your utility bill as well.
Right.
But in a city this size and looking at the job market, people just really couldn't foot this heavy burden. Absolutely. And what we did, we set policy to work with our citizens, our older people, because they was under this very heavy utility debt. And so we were able to accomplish that. And if you ask me, you didn't ask me this, look at the accomplishment, I would say the utility debt that was brought out.
It's coming. Yeah, hold on. Hold on. It's coming.
Okay, it's coming.
It's coming.
Those things, when you get in a place where you can make decisions, you got to understand, the decision that you need to make.
Uh-huh.
If you're not knowledgeable of anything and then you don't want to learn and you don't want to listen, then you're going to just be sitting there, not be able to make sound decisions. And when people come in and want to destroy a unit of solidarity for their own good, out of power and control. Mm-hmm. What did the quote that Frederick Douglass said? I wrote it here. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Mm-hmm. It never did and it never will. And if there's no struggle, there's no progress.
Absolutely.
And we as a people, Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois had a different philosophy of how black people should live. Frederick Douglass said, Booker T. Washington, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
Yeah.
But E.B. Du Bois said you need to go and get some education.
Yeah.
And so neither one was wrong. I think it was a both and. And so we as a people, we had always had to struggle being too black or you being too militant. Mm-hmm. Or, you shouldn't do that. Or you shouldn't dress that way. You shouldn't, same thing. Don't wear your hair that way. They're going to think of you a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Or you always, being stereotyped, whether you graduated from Harvard or graduated from St. Augustine or Shaw, you still black in America. Until all of that ugly head of racism is eradicated, until it's dead completely, we always going to be seen in a light. But they're going to take a few of us and put us in a place that they think we should talk this way, look this way, and you may be president or the governor or this or that. But you can't be too black. And then we need to come back and criticize, they're not black enough.
Right.
So,
Orthodox sisters say, I'm not black, I'm OJ.
Ah,
Okay.
Okay.
What happened? Okay.
it works, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's always a struggle.
Right.
And when you live in it, and you got to live it,
Right.
it can be very stressful.
Right. I want to ask you this, right? Because I battle with this. I'm talking about this is something that I battle with every day, and it's called taking the high road.
Taking the
Now the high road.
high road.
All right. Now
Depending on what the high road is.
with that light bill situation, I seen you get attacked every day. I'm talking about, especially during election time, right? If that were me, I would have been up under every comment. Your mama. Oh,
Right.
what? Oh, your lights cut off. Good. That ain't my problem. It ain't me that ain't pay you. Won't you take your instead of going to the fish table? Won't you pay your light bill? I ain't got the light bill, man. You know what I mean? So how do you deal with now?
Well,
You know, because like you said, you have like especially like you got these platforms that's meant to. It seems like to tear us down. You know, not just you, but anything. You got these platforms on these social media, that's on social media, that every time they mention somebody black, there's always something.
Well, if you're black and smart, you're
you a threat. Yeah, you were very dangerous.
But listen to this. You city council, you Ward 1, and I look at your track record. I see that the monument's gone, you got housing, you're doing this, you're doing that. You're like, dang, I got to get that man out. That man's dangerous. You know, we got to turn his own people against him. You know, and we in the Bible Belt, but who destroyed Jesus? It was amongst his own rank. I mean, same thing with Dr. King.
Malcolm
The
X.
same thing with Malcolm X. So, you got to figure out a way how to infiltrate your own camp, your own people, and to make it look like you're the bad person. And so when you look at the track record, and when you hear the names, certain names, you know what. You know, if I go in the boardroom, you know what I'm going to say, and you know what I'm going to advocate. You ain't got to guess. Some people don't even come and ask me stuff because they know I'm going to say no. And if we doing a deal, how much we get?
Yeah.
Okay, no, we putting it here. So they already know where you stand. But if they don't know where you stand and they can sway you, that's who they want. You know. But if I'm in a battle with you, who do you want on your side? Somebody that ain't gonna bend and sway, right?
Right.
You know, if Andre Knight go in that room, I ain't got nothing to worry about because he gonna represent. I always been that way. You can ask those. I never said, well, what can I get? Or look out for my business. Always been a hard working person because that's in my blood. And so the hardest thing is to listen to. Back in 2014, Angela Bryant, myself, and the other council, we fought so hard for the burden that we was under with utilities and all this other stuff that we're doing, is to listen to your own people. I know what them folks gonna say, but the same people who you have helped, then somebody was on your chat, young lady that I helped personally, know their family. So I picked up the phone. I'm like, is this your daughter? She said, don't even worry about it. Don't even live here. I said, my God, how can you just take something that somebody put in a report and you don't even read the full report? And then you just start bashing somebody. That's not fair to you, especially if you've been out here fighting for the people. Or you hear a rumor, and I don't like, every time I see his shoes shop, I don't like him. I don't like him because, he live out there and his grass is manicured.
I'm talking about my life.
Somebody don't like you because they ride past your house and your grass manicured. I said, go ahead on, brother. Somebody may not like you because your swag or you got a nice car, but they don't know how you got it. So that's exactly. I'm gonna ask you this: can somebody ever I don't like you, but they don't know?
Hallelujah. I just had it up to me like,
Okay,
hallelujah.
I'm gonna get the usher to sit you down.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
But we have had people, and all of us, folks that don't like you, don't like me, don't like you, and don't know you.
Absolutely.
You know, it's crazy. But how I'm able to sustain and I get weary now. It's to be not weary and well doing.
Absolutely.
You know, I have a lot of prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even before I go in the meeting, my godmother, she dead and gone. She said, "Be shut mouth, Emma." That was her
Right.
mama. She said, "Andre," and I said, "You know, it's hard sometimes, man. It's really hard sometimes
Mm-hmm.
to sit there and keep your mouth shut when somebody's talking about your mama and your dead daddy, and talk about your character, talk about calling you thieves and crooks and all you have done is work your whole entire life. It's hard."
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's the grace of God and the mercy of God that keeps me and probably the rest of us. Because not, man, you'll lose it.
Absolutely.
You'll lose it. And when I speak boldly, you know, at the last council meeting, I said, "You're not gonna shut me down." I said, "And I'm gonna respect you in the office that you preside in. You're gonna respect me."
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Oh, that's a threat. You threatening me?" No, Karen, I'm not threatening you.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, if I respect you, you gonna respect me. Yo, with black men, you know, you speak, "Oh, you threat," you know, you call the police.
I know how they do. I know how they do.
Yeah, oh, he touched me, you know.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Those I been
And then
through.
I said, in this meeting, I said, "I'm gonna let all of y'all know in this room, I don't have to threaten nobody in this room.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want respect, you're gonna respect me."
Absolutely.
And that's why I said, I may not like what you say, but give me the opportunity to say what I want to say,
Right.
whether you agree or disagree.
Right.
And that's a form of respect. But you ain't gonna shut me down and tell me I can't talk.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. You know, all you have to do is read. All you have to do is look at the minutes of the city council. You know, I've gone on TV. You know, when this whole thing came out, I was quiet, silent for about 30 days. I told my attorney, I said, "Look, man, it was eating my spirit up." I said, "People, you know, they think that it's true because they know me.
Yeah.
They know that I would speak up and speak out." I said, "They haven't heard anything from me.
Mm-hmm.
Please give me the opportunity." And he said, "Okay, Andre, stay away from this, but you can speak." And that's when I did the exclusive interview.
Mm.
And I had a little edge on me because it was a heavy burden at the time, because you listening in this ear, people say, "I got your back, I'm praying for you," but then you listen in this ear, "Oh God, I can't believe he done it. We paying our bills. Oh, he getting over it." That was very hard for me.
Absolutely.
It was very hard and very stressful. But then when you speak, then people are like, "Oh, you angry." I said, "I got a right to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be mad. I have a right to be upset. I have a right to be to feel the way that I do if you got all this stuff coming around you."
Mm-hmm.
But it's the way how you channel it.
Right.
You know, I ain't going out here beating up nobody, killing nobody,
Right.
breaking no windows.
Right.
But then when you speak with authority, they think that, "Oh, I'm walking around here a mad, angry man." I'm not a mad, angry man. I'm not
There's a man
beast.
with a voice.
You know, no melon. Oh, he melon. You know, I went into a furniture sale they had every year. It was a Caucasian older lady. She said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Fine." She said, "Well, we afraid of you." I said, "Why are you afraid of me?" She said, "Cause you mean." I said, "Who said I'm mean? Have I done anything to you?" "No." I said, "Why you say I'm mean?" "Well, the paper said." "Well, we saw this." I said, "You can't believe everything in the paper." "Well, my friends over there, they scared of you." I said, "Why are you afraid of me?" But that's the same thing that black men have to face in America, that we are thieves.
Walk
we
past
are
they
murderers.
door, they lock their door.
Yeah,
Walk past they call it lock their
I'm
doors.
scared of you. I'm scared of you. Don't be scared of me.
And a 98
You know,
Explorer, they'll lock their
you know.
doors.
So, you know, and then sometimes when you are dealt the same hand and treated the same way, that you got to position yourself, that you're always in a mode of protection and fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, So when I walk in the room, you know, the lady like, why you don't smile? I said, because I don't feel like it. You know,
Yeah,
you
got to
know,
play defense.
you know. So I'm
Got to play
always,
defense.
because it's always something coming at you
Right,
that you got to be ready.
right.
You know, and that's where the stress come in, because just think about John Lewis, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer, Sojourner Truth,
Huey
Harriet
P.
Tubman said, if you
Newton.
turn around, I'll shoot you dead.
Yeah,
But the stress you had to live under, because it was a protective mode of your people, and you always ready for whatever come, because you
almost
never know
seem
when those fiery dots
yeah,
gonna come.
almost seem like dying is a relief.
Yeah, you
And that's
know,
real. It's almost seem
yeah,
like
yeah,
guys like that fight
you know,
their whole life, their whole
yeah,
battle. Every day you under constant scrutiny. Every day
yeah,
you under constant threats.
right,
Threats on your life, threats on your family
right.
life. And to the point to where it almost seems like dying is a relief.
Mhm.
Uh
And we can't fix, man. I mean, we can't fix everything.
yeah.
We can't fix all the housing in Southeast Rocky Mount, Brent Street, Clark Street. You know, that's where my church is. We can't fix all that. We can't fix all of Hackney Hill at one time, or Little Raleigh, or Joiners Hill, or Hillsdale, because there's not enough money to do it unless we float a bond. But what we can do is allocate money where it needs to be. We can have programs where it can benefit those who don't have the income level to receive some of their taxpayers' dollars they've been paying to help them fix up their house. We can put a program, MWBE, that gives you an opportunity to bid on some of these contracts
Mhm.
that you can be employed. The event center, you know, why are we focusing downtown? Because all of our historic African American or older neighborhoods are on the fringes. Look at Happy Hill. Look at Little Raleigh, walking distance. And because we don't approve the ratio plan for downtown, because it did not address gentrification.
Mm.
South, you know, all over the world, we sitting at the table, right? Somebody said, "Are you from DC?" They said, "Yeah." Well, where you live now, Maryland? Oh, no, ain't no black people. You know, Southeast, no longer. Brooklyn, no longer.
Mhm.
You know, the black, about the only black, you know, Atlanta. But you do you own anything downtown?
Right.
The property is so high. You know, Southeast Raleigh. How many black entrepreneurs do you have down there? Why we just can't have? You a man, you want a nice house, don't you? Well, you do. You got one. You want a nice car. I mean, you want to provide for your daughter
Absolutely.
education.
Absolutely.
You want the same thing that another man wants.
Mhm.
Okay, you might want a beach house. You might want property downtown. What's wrong with you if you got two buildings? So what? You paid for it.
Right.
But don't down you. I shouldn't down you. But then the man right beside me on a private jet or a multi-million dollars, okay, are you pulling up everything on the tax record on that person?
Right.
Are you coming down there calling that person this? Or are you trying to figure out where they make that money from? Are you
Yeah.
peeping in their house?
Yeah.
Are you peeping in their car?
Yeah.
Are you going around? You know, that was the kind of thing. If God bless you with it, man, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not the type of person to be envious and jealous,
Mm.
because if you win, I win.
Absolutely.
If you win and be self-supportive and sustain, it makes my heart happy and
Right.
glad to see people,
They
not just black people, but people in general,
show you it can be done.
can be done.
Right.
You know? Especially when the odds are against you.
Right. For the
You know.
people that don't know, what does Andre Knight like to do in his spare time? What do you look like a
Man.
golfing man?
No, I do not. I ain't going on no golf. Because my daddy told me now. Now, we got some good golfers, Reverend Burston, George Burr. They love golf. They say it's supposed to be less stressful. Tiger Woods, you know, we have, but I got some bad stuff about golfing.
Yeah.
But no, I do not. Because
Okay.
I ain't swinging no ball and I ain't going in there chatting with you in no country club.
Yeah.
So you already knew that question. Some question, now you ain't asking me. I might go play a little basketball. down
Okay,
there,
okay.
and I'm gonna play street ball.
Okay.
You know. But what do I do in my spare time?
Yeah.
Man, what do I do in my spare time? You know what I like to do?
What you like to
I
do?
like to work in the flower garden.
Okay.
Because look, let me tell you one thing. When I was growing up, and I was bad as hell. I'm gonna just tell you, that was my neighbor telling me, Miss Edna Moore, she just died.
Yeah.
She said, "You the meanest knotted-head boy." You know, walking around terrorizing.
Now they used to talk to you back then too.
And so she introduced me. She tricked me. And she said, "Help me get this dirt out. Help me move these flowers." And then I became interested.
Yeah.
Because my friends were living in Meadowbrook, Cloverdale, and some of these other places. And so we had a nice, moderate house. But I wanted to beautify our house, my parents' house, as much as I could. And that was a part of beautification because they would come and pick me up. I remember my dad was trying to save money. He put a wood heater in the house. And he'll go get his truck and pile all these pallets up, and wood would be everywhere. And my friends are coming like, "Dad, go, man, you live here." It was a little embarrassing. So what I would do, my dad would come, bring the wood, the pallets, wherever he would get them from, and the scrap wood, I would stack it neatly. Because I ain't want to be picked on. Because I'm just Andre, I'm walking around with the suit on and all that,
Yeah.
So, but in my spare time, just doing yard work and really doing history. Ruben called me a history buff about the history here in Rocky Mount, genealogy, trying to understand, where my people came from,
Right.
How things were, so I can appreciate life today, how I can, my son was like, "Dad, you ain't spending no time, I said, "Son, I didn't mean to get into politics." And how I entered into politics because I was fighting for my life. And the last 20 years, I get out of one battle, and before I can, rest and get my mind, it's something else. I went from the adult daycare, sued the city. I lost in Superior Court because I asked the judge, Frank Brown, to recuse himself. They said, "Man, how dare you ask Frank Brown to lock him up, man, to recuse himself?" I'm like, "Oh my God." Because his brother fired me at Edgecombe Community College. You see how the dots connect? So it took him 10 minutes to come back and rule in favor of the city of Rocky Mount. So then we appealed it and went to the Court of Appeals. There was a fight. Then it was my residency. And there was something, man, like the heat of the night. I mean, it was like, this lady was like, "You got that big house, what kind of car you drive?" I said, "Toyota Camry." She said, "You ain't got no better car than that." We see people walking out of your house eating chicken bones. All this stuff is in the docket, man. They were trying to railroad me, and then they tried to remove me from my seat. We had to get file a writ and for me to stay on my seat.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Court of Appeals, and I won that. Then they said during the annexation, we was over at the First Baptist Church across from the city hall because the city council was too small. And they said I hit this white man in a wheelchair. He had to go to court. This man rolls up. He lived right down the street from you. Rolls up in his scooter. Wasn't no wheelchair. He rolls up in his scooter now. He know me. I don't know this man from Gomer Pyle. He rolls up in his scooter. He said, "You Andre Knight?" I said, "Yeah." And he said something. He was going to hit me. I said, "Man, I'm going to knock you out." I mean, that was just a reaction. Yeah, what you say was?
Reflex.
It was a reflection. Because we had to fight. We were, and I went to court, and the judge asked me, and I did it. What I just said to you, I said in court.
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't seen nobody on the street, no scooter, no wheelchair.
I'm like, "Man, you gonna hit me?" I said, "You ain't gonna hit me up in this church." And so, I won that, and then I was tricked by our own people, where this coach hit this black boy playing football at Tabor Park. Now, I'm mad at my bit. I wasn't even at the park. All these parents can come. "Andre, yeah, he got beat on the field. I said, "Look now, are y'all telling me to?" Yeah. There's about 12 of them. Got to court. Man, I said, what? I said, Sadamaba. I said, Shazam. I said, what? They talking about, no, he did this. And I asked them people. They said that he took his hand and beat the boy. Then after I recognized the mother and the son at the NAACP for the Encourage Award, because I was still trying to kiss, then the mama turned on me and said, you ain't paying your light bill. I'm like, what? Did I just recognize you at the Freedom Fund Bank at the NAACP and was talking to you on the phone all these late at night trying to encourage you? You lost your job. I'm like, hang on, God gonna make a way. Then you gonna turn on me?
The whole time you was
Then the man joined my church. I told my God, I said, don't join my church. This was Johnny Cunningham. Johnny joined my church. I said, oh God. I said, why is this man joining my church?
Lord Jesus.
The lady said, look. He said he enjoyed your preaching and God sent him there. I said, God ain't sitting here. I said, but anyway, gave him the right hand fellowship. And Reuben and I, we had created this panel, say, OR Post School. And Reuben talking about a STEM school, science and something. And he got mad and he just flipped, man. And that's why I did that Don't Blame Me. And he was just talking this bad about us. Before he passed away, he was murdered. He did come back and apologize. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I'm like, man, what in the world? I said, what is going on? So then the next thing came up with this daggone audit. I said, now, how in the world a black man gonna walk around Rocky Mount 20 years and ain't paid no utility bill? And then people see me going to City Hall, long line, ma'am, are they treating you right? Can I help you? And then I would go and say, hey, this person need this and that. And I'm just saying it was just untrue in a report. Oh, I know, my thought just came back. Just say, for instance, you representing Ward 3, and you got these haters on a different station, WHIG-TV, in the newspaper. They said, well, what we're going to do, we're going to mount a campaign up against these 3 horsemen, because y'all always vote together. And so you get 211 people to make a phone call saying that you're doing something wrong. Can't prove it. So you have to do that in order to get an investigation spark. Mm-hmm. Now, out of this whole city, you just going to investigate 3 people? When you just had this man, Gary Weeks, that spent thousands and thousands of dollars of embezzlement. So you get this going, and then you hold up a $50 million project. That's the hotel. And then you print this report saying, oh, you was on the wrong side of the street. You couldn't get no grant. That's red line. Okay, you sitting over here, I'm over here. Andre Knight can get the grant, but you can't get it because you're on the wrong side of the street. We on both of our addresses, 105 Gray Street. And we said, we don't red line. We fund both sides of the street. Oh, well, the city manager ate $1,600 worth of food. And she ate shrimp, steak, and lobster. You just bought some steak in here for her. I said, we're supposed to eat pig feet, pot of meat. Them days on, when we traveling, we had to take a little greasy bath. But it is customary all over this United States of America that if we go to a conference, the city manager pays for all of us to eat. And if anybody get into alcohol, the attorney pay for it. Because they say, well, you don't want to, city can't be paying for that. So how did this woman eat $1,600 of shrimp, steak, and lobster by herself? And then people going around.
And she showed up and get a plate from Back Billy Grills on Wheels, because that's how much it'll cost.
Well, that's what you need to charge. So those kind of, and then 20 years. You're going back to 1999. I went on the council talking about a bill. I don't know what you're talking about, because we don't approve write-offs.
Right.
We never seen them because it didn't become political. If you got a whole list, we got to choose who we're going to write off and who not. It could become political. Right. I was like, I don't like this guy, because every time I look at him, his shoes are nice. And he got some money. He don't need, it becomes political. Mm-hmm. So we don't see that. Mm-hmm. And, I just want to say, from the depths of my heart, I've never seen no write-off. Nobody never told me, Councilman Knight, we doing, and then you talking about you got 200 emails, and then you pull out one email. It's your interpretation of it. So, I just have to be strong and I'm in a position I got to be able to take it.
Right.
You know, because you just can't fold under pressure.
Absolutely.
So I think I've been equipped, even when I'm being attacked, calling names. Somebody would call me sweetback. I walk with my head up, my tail out. I said, oh, what you doing looking at my tail? You know, where did you get that from? And so those things, you can't let those things bother you and say all these derogatory things. That doesn't bother me.
Right.
Sister Zelly Thorne used to sing a song, you're doing right, go ahead. And you got to take the good with the bad, man. And
Absolutely.
you got to be able to stand.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Fall for anything.
And that's the most childish, bulliest thing,
Right.
is to call people names.
Right.
And talk about your mama, talk about your daddy, talk about this, talk about that. You got to be able to understand the pressure. And then when somebody accuses you, and you haven't been charged with a crime or guilty, then you can't. I mean, yeah, I supposed to walk with my head up.
Because in this country, one thing about us, we're guilty until proven innocent.
Right. I said, how many reports we, especially African American, have been lied on, DNA tampered, all this. But I want to say this. Now, the person they're always calling Andre Knight, Ruben Blackwell, Rochester Mother are crooks. I mean, you look at, I don't have no record. I'm not saying that, thank God. And for a person that has a record and they're doing well, I believe in a second chance and a third chance. So people have a chance to recover and become good citizens. But I'm just saying the stuff, what they say about us, when you look at your own stuff, I mean, you don't want that come to light. And then what I'm saying, when you look at other men,
probably don't own a broom.
Right. You talking about my utility bill, but do you have one? And then how can you be labeled as a thief and a crook, but then you get somebody that don't look like you and me, and they get caught up in some stuff, house arrest, they are honorable businessmen. You ain't see nobody bashing this real estate company. This man here stole millions of dollars offshore from investors, but he had a prominent father that's a lawyer. They got him out. Don't look like you, but he's still a prominent man in Rocky Mount. This person done something at the state level with North Carolina DOT, but then you want to name the highway right out here off Biveny Road. This person's name, they're an upright citizen. Then you got somebody else. They done something wrong and admitted it, but they still upright. But then if you do something or you accused, oh, you bad. Oh, you ain't no good. You a thief. Something wrong with that picture. And then the person that was inspired to write the bill, Google, daggone. You own the largest sweet potato country in the country, and your father-in-law was convicted of tax evasion, but now your husband, which is you, his wife, own the company. But did you benefit? Did you get your hair done, toes done, nails done? Did you take a trip from the sweet potato plant? I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, what's the inspiration?
Right.
What you need to say, hey,
all day. All day.
We shouldn't be
all day.
Talking about somebody when you got something in your own,
absolutely,
your own house. So those are the kind of things that we have to deal with. You always got to work harder, be smarter, to be able to survive in America. Now, what people don't understand, being black in America is not easy. And some of us might say, oh yeah, I got here on my own merit.
No, you didn't.
But for most of us, it has been very stressful, especially when you're in certain positions. And just living, black men, is stressful when you get pulled over by the police. Oh, I beat that case. I remember I was on Cedar Street. I was on a daggone caravan. This guy gonna stop me talking about my CV. I said, man, come on. Talking about y'all picking up this late or something. So I got in court. I said, racial profiling. The man said, boom, boom, case dismissed. But you always have to shift your mind in a fighting mode when you are being attacked or when you're being accused.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So there you go, survival of the fitness.
How much more long you say it's been? 18 years now?
2003.
How much more longer we plan on going on this run before we say, we ain't passed the torch off? How long?
Well, what we want to do, and I think most of seasoned politicians, we want to see the involvement of young people. Just say, for instance, if you don't know anything about politics, you don't know nothing about Rocky Mount, I think it would be hard if you don't have any idea about the history and the culture of our people to be able to navigate through those pitfalls. Just say if you're at the city council, if you don't know the history of where we come from and how we have improved things in Rocky Mount, it'd be hard. I think it'd be hard for a person to be able to become a council person. Let's say, for instance, you're in the House of Representatives at the state level, and you haven't been involved. Then when you get there and you have to make these tough decisions, and people pulling on you, man, trying to get you to sway, you got to be able to stand. You got to be able to say, even if it get defeated, I'm standing in solidarity. The Black Caucus can't pass nothing by themselves. But when they stand together, that's power for the governor or the House and the Senate to see. You said, you might outnumber me, but we got a voice. Now, if we come together and shout loudly together, they can hear us, but opposed to one person. So what I'm saying, you really got to be involved. You really got to have your ear on the street. You really got to be grassroots and understand. And I think if you know that, that's where your experience comes from.
So it sounds like Andre Knight is in the state for a while.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
I'm at this point now that, we can't sit in these positions forever. But what I don't want somebody to do is to come behind me and not appreciate where we are as a city, and then turn back the hands of time.
Right.
And so when you hear people talking about militant and somebody this and somebody angry, you got to see who's saying it, and then say, let me check this person out. I didn't know you, and I'm gonna say this here. I ain't gonna never come on this guy's show. I told Ruben, because you hear somebody on the show that didn't like me, and I was like, who are these guys? But then somebody was like, no, he really have an audience. He really is for the community. And I was just going based on somebody else. I would have had a very negative opinion of you, because I didn't do my research about you. And see, a lot of times, because somebody don't like you, that means I don't supposed to like you until I take the time out to find out what you really stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And, so to me, we got to stop doing that. And the most thing I say, like Camilla's dancer said, he had no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just a permanent interest. We have to do our homework. So when you walk in the room, when you open your mouth, you can speak truth to power and they respect you. If you go in there shucking and jiving and man, they're not gonna respect you.
Never.
You
So for all the negative things that people may see about Rocky Mount or feel like they are only impacted by, tell everybody out there, my audience, all the great things that has happened.
Look,
off
man,
the strength of y'all back.
Hey, get off that fighting, crying, and this other stuff, and stop being so negative and control your children and clean our neighborhoods up. But what I want to say, there's an article that was in the New York Times about the shuttering factories of Rocky Mountain, and we're on the rise. I protested All American City too. When we
Okay.
went to Philadelphia, it was myself and Carol Batchelor. We went on this car. We didn't think we were gonna make it with recap tires because I felt like we didn't need to be an All American City because of the discrimination that I was going through. And so that I remember going to Philadelphia, and it was a big argument. Oh, Andre Knight coming. Walked in the room, mad as hell, and see these the chamber people and stuff, because I was going to protest. And Miss Carol Bass is like, "Come on, Andre, pray." I like, girl, I don't want to pray. I'm mad. I'm furious. I'm upset. They're killing my dream. They're trying to do me in. So, but I succumb and I pray. I'm from a praying family. But, it's, man, we got to be able to, um, when we get in position, we got to know how to navigate. Number one, we got to be able to listen. You got to have tough skin. You got to have your values, and you got to know what you're talking about. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, you can easily be persuaded. And you got to always remember, some people may have an agenda, and because you're doing right by communities that have not had a chance of the pot or the money, and you feel that this money need to go there, don't feel guilty or bad, because that means those people or their area have not had a fair chance to be productive or to be, to have, to be able to thrive. I know we have our challenges here in Rocky Mount. We always have had it through. They talk about the railroad track. The have and the have-nots. You see articles with me on talking about that. But what I found out is very interesting, young men, that we always say we don't have restaurants. But you know why I found out we don't have too many restaurants? Because when we go to this International Shopping Center conference, what I found out, you go to Burger King, Wendy's, this Texas Steakhouse or whatever, people in Rocky Mount own the franchise. So if you own the franchise, you control the territory like a Subway. Oh, we need a Subway. Well, the man that owned the franchise for Subway said, I'm not going over there. I hear all these gunshots. Why am I going over there? I'm not going to send my family over there. So if you don't have the franchise, then you can't put one on Raleigh Road Boulevard.
Right.
Or on Hillsdale Drive. Because you don't own the franchise. And then we start pooling our money together and thinks in terms of economics. Then what's wrong with 3 or 4 guys say, hey, we're going to buy a franchise for Chick-fil-A, which I think you got to have, what, $200,000? And I know you got it. You got it on your hand, wrist, and arm. So, another thing, we talk about marijuana, okay? We know it's going to become legal as soon as they find out how to make the money.
Right.
Just look at tobacco. All that tobacco we don't prime and don't get no money from.
Don't get shit from.
And the same thing with this, you want to have a hemp farm. You want to have a dispensary. I mean, you are already doing it, not you. I'm saying if you already doing it, do it the right way and get paid for it because it's coming. Buy you 50 acres, 100 acres and grow it. You might have to put up a bar wire fence. Yeah. But learn the industry. Like the craft beer, Celeste Beatty and I forgot the other lady, Spaceway. They're like the first black craft brewers. She's in Walmart. She's selling her beer at A&T at the concession stand. But the only thing we only heard was Michelob's and Anheuser-Busch and but black folks been doing daggone steels in the woods. They've been,
my aunt went somewhere where she it was a distillery. What is it called? A brewery. But black owned companies. know what I mean? All black beers, and she just did taste testing with them. Because, like I said, we are great people, and that's what this podcast
and we are
is about.
talented, man.
It's very talented. That's what this podcast is about.
Most of your ideas were stolen anyway.
Right. Still
The
getting
platinum
stolen.
was. I mean, look at all the platinum, all the inventions that was stolen or haven't really been given credit. You know, it came from here.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying. You know, look at. I mean, y'all. I'm sitting among the kings and the prince. I'm the king now. Y'all the princes. Prince. I'm the king. Now I'm just playing. But just look at this room, man. You know, it's powerful.
Right.
So we got to learn how, number one, be unified, solidarity. Then we got to think, you know, dollars and cents and economics and how the game plays. You know, the stock market, you know, that was when these guys started doing this trading and stuff, you know, to change the rules. What I'm saying, don't change the rules up on me. When I learn how to play the game,
don't change it.
Don't change it.
Don't change it. Absolutely.
You know, don't change up.
Absolutely.
You know, you already got a head start.
Absolutely.
You already in New York, and we trying to get to Canada.
Right.
And I'm in Rocky Mount.
Right.
Don't change the rules.
Right. When I learned the game,
catch up and beat you. Know,
absolutely. When I learned the game, do not change the rules.
And they changed the rules, man.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight with Goat Chat with Matt. My guest, City Council Ward Number 1, Andre Knight. I appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yes,
it was
sir.
nice talking to you.
And I'm fired up.
Hey, I'm
ready to go.
Hey, I see
Forward together, not one step back.
Absolutely. Hey, you know, for all my citizens out there in the community, whatever, make sure, like, you know, I don't go either, but, you know, I need to start. But we need to start attending these council meetings to see what's going on in our areas, in our community, in our city, because we don't be knowing. All we do is we get on these platforms that speak negative about what's going on in our communities for people that won't even walk down the damn street. Mm-hmm. And I get up, me and my boys, we get up, we run our community. So, you know what I'm saying? I make sure it's prevalent that when I go get out and run in the morning, I'm running through these same neighborhoods that old buddy got shot at last night.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we are family.
That's right.
Us as a people, we are one. Like, you know, if we don't got our own back, we can't expect the oppressors to have our back.
That's right.
So again, I want to appreciate Mr. Knight for coming up here. Go chat with Matt. I want y'all to tune in next week. I got the 252. I got Uncle Matt's 252 Rising Stars edition. I'm gonna have a few kids come up here with special type of talents, and you know, we gonna shine the light on our youth because they are our future. Mr. Knight, I don't know if you tuned in to my show. Now, I had a few guests up here that you know you might want to go back and check out. But anyway, I got a segment that I do every Monday at the end of the show called Matt's Ballad of the Day. Growing up, you know, in my household on Sundays and Saturdays, my mama then we cleaned up and we sang that good music. Not that stuff that you know you might hear on the radio today. So I'm gonna take you back in time. Something you might have heard it sounds like about growing up on Sundays when it was time to clean up before you went to church.
Okay, all right.
Drop that, DJ.
Drop it, DJ.
I am David Ruffin.
All right, David Ruffin.
Sunshine, blue skies, please go away. My girl is gone, and she's gone away. Without your love is turning you. So every day,
I stay locked up in my room.
I know to you, it might sound strange, but I wish it would rain.
Oh yeah. God forbid me, I wanna go outside.
Oh.
You want to get out?
No.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
I know this is good.
Feel inside, words could never explain.
Wish it would rain. Oh, rain.
Rain.
Break it down. You gotta do that.
Oh, yeah.
Let it rain.
All right. TJ, they're going to probably cut us for that one. Hey,
Hey, I
go
can grow
chat
up a little
with
bit
Matt.
now.
I
Hey, all right now.
see you. Go chat with Matt, the city back on the rise edition with Councilman Andre
Just call
Knight
me
from
Andre
Ward
Knight.
1. I appreciate you for coming on,
Oh,
brother.
like they said, AK-47.
AK-47,
That's it right now.
AK-47, you know what I'm saying? Glad y'all got to see another side
Yeah,
of this
man.
brother. He's human just like the rest of
Yeah.
us. Next time I have a cookout, you can come on out here and get your little
I
piece
will
of
be
chicken.
there.
My mama make the best butter beans in the town.
All right.
You know, macaroni cheese, whatever you want. So, you know, next time I have a cookout, you are invited.
What about the banana pudding?
Lord jeez, I got
All
some in
right.
the house right now.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Tuned in to go
Appreciate that.
chat already. Tuned in to go chat with back next week. I got, like I said, we got our 252 Uprising Stars edition, Rising Stars edition. Uncle Matt gonna bring a bunch of kids up here. I'm gonna TikTok it out. I have pizza for them, cake, all that. You know, their parents might sit in the back and might get them a little drink. Anyway, go chat with Mac. DJ, take us out.
This is Go Chat with Mac, the People's Podcast.
Are we on? Are we still on?
Yeah, you about to take it.